Okay, Darcy, it looks like people have successfully joined the meeting, so we're ready to begin. Please start the recording. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Campus Answer Hour for insurers, self-insurers, third-party administrators, and trading partners. My name is Denise Holmes, and I'm a Compliance Services Officer, or CSO, in the Compliance, Records, and Training, or CRT department here at the Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry. And we also have with us co-hosting today my CRT teammate, Senior CSO Deb Dolsky. In addition, we also have a broad range of panelists joining us to help answer your questions and share their campus knowledge, including CRT Director Chris Leifeld, CRT Work Comp Program Supervisors Ralph Hapness, Melissa Parrish, and Mike Solheid, as well as Andrew Kobrick from the Minnesota Information Technology Unit, and campus subject matter experts, Lisa Smith and Cheryl Sherbel. We also have joining our meeting later today from the Special Comp Fund, their director Karen Kask-Meinke and SCF Supervisor Tom Hansen to field any questions you may have involving the Special Compensation Fund. So just a reminder that this meeting today is being recorded so that it can be posted for your access at a later date. Please also note that for audio purposes, all attendees should be on mute. So if you have a question that arises during this meeting, please just type it in the chat box. CSO Ann Gillis will be coordinating those chat box questions to ensure that your inquiries are addressed. Ann will also be sharing some helpful campus links in the WebEx chat box during this meeting, such as contact information for the Campus Help Desk and for the EDI team. So you may want to watch what she pastes there and cut and paste any pertinent links for your future reference. So you can see the agenda for today starts off with a summary of the most recent campus release updates. And then I will confirm the main current campus known issues so that you're aware of what we continue to work on. And then based upon your requests and ideas from our prior sessions polling, the next topic we have will be on PY payment form filing examples, which will be presented by Lisa Smith and Cheryl Sherbel. And then Deb Dolsky will address our future campus hour sessions, and she'll provide the Campus Central webpage link, which is where you can sign up for future answer hours, find all prior recorded training and event video links, and other helpful campus resource materials are posted there. And lastly, we will conclude this meeting by opening the forum to any remaining questions you have at the end. So regarding the most recent campus release, so there was an issue where some external users were unable to assign adjusters to a claim. That issue is now resolved. Another issue was that some injuries that were the result of COVID-19 vaccinations did not have an applicable nature of injury designation. This has been updated because Minnesota has adopted the new Workers' Compensation Insurance Organization, or WCIO code, for this nature of injury, and that is 38, adverse reaction to a vaccination or inoculation. In addition, the workers' compensation report of benefits paid was erroring out due to incorrect assessment rate values in Work Comp Campus. Some external users were receiving error messages and could not complete the report. The update is that the assessment rate values have now been corrected, so external users should be able to complete the report and see current assessment information as it is updated throughout the year. So some of the current main known issues with the campus system include there are some issues with document generation from the EDI, or electronic data interchange. So just a reminder to be sure that the IP, or initial payment, and PY payment filings contain payment segments. Be sure that you complete those parts. and that the SX or suspension filing has a return to work date listed when applicable. Users have reported issues with the EDI sequencing of transactions, and that seems to particularly be of issue, especially later on in the claim following an RB or reinstatement of benefits form filing. We're also aware of some match data issues involving the PIN, date of injury, date of birth, jurisdictional claim number, worker ID number, and CACN numbers. We want to confirm that we are aware of these issues and they are being worked on to be resolved as quickly as possible. We thank you for your calls and emails into the help desk to report these issues and offer your feedback. Please do continue to share with us any other issues that you're experiencing in the campus system so that we can ensure that we're notified that a particular issue exists so that we can address it. So moving along to our next agenda topic, Lisa and Cheryl, did you want to take the floor?
Thanks, Denise. Good afternoon. Today we will be looking at the PY or payment report. If you have questions regarding this presentation, please type them in the chat box and we will answer them during the question and answer portion of today's meeting. The PY is used to report a lump sum payment of benefits. For example, a lump sum permanent partial disability or PPD payment, or a payment based on an order or award. We will have two scenarios to show you today. I will be presenting a lump sum payment of PPD, and Cheryl Sherbel will be presenting an award on stipulation for a full, final, and complete settlement. Next. The first scenario we will go through is a PPD lump sum payment. This PPD rating is based on Minnesota Rules 5223.0390 subpart 4D for 9%, and we are paying it in a lump sum in the amount of $7,560. Next. Now we are showing what will need to be reported on the benefit segment. For a lump sum PPD payment, the benefit type code would be 530, permanent partial scheduled lump sum payment settlement. You would enter the gross weekly amount effective date, net weekly amount, and net weekly amount effective date, or based on previous submissions, these fields may pre-fill. The benefit type amount paid would be $7,560, and the benefit payment issue date would be your date of payment. Next. This example is based on how an e-form filer would report the benefit segment information on their PY transaction. A trading partner can either submit EDI via Direct Connect, through a vendor, or e-form. Your system may look different depending on the trading partner's method of choice. Next. For the payment segment, you will need to report the payment reason code, again 530, the payee's name, Samantha Malone, the payment amount, $7,560, the payment period start and through dates, and the payment issue date, and in this case, it's April 6, 2021. Next. Here again is an example of an e-form screen where they would enter the payment segment information. Also, you will need to indicate the lump sum payment settlement code. For PPD, it would be NS, non-specified lump sum payment. Next. This is the generated form that Campus will produce. You will want to make sure that you complete the payment segment so that the payment information will display on the form. This form has been generated with information that was provided on the transaction. It is your responsibility to serve the final version to the appropriate parties. If you modify the generated form that you serve on the parties, please upload a copy into Campus. Next. You will also need to complete a PPD follow-up web form, which provides information that is not reported through EDI, such as the PPD schedule rule number and name of the doctor who gave the rating. When completing this, you will also be able to upload the healthcare provider report or other medical reports to support your payment. Our next scenario will be presented by Cheryl Sherbel. Next.
Thanks, Lisa. In this scenario, we will be completing the PY for a full, final, and complete settlement. The full, final, complete settlement is for $15,000, and from the $15,000, $12,000 will go to the employee, $3,000 will go to the employee's attorney. Also, the employee's attorney will be paid $1,000 for RORAF fees and $196.95 for taxable costs. Next screen. For a full, final, and complete settlement, you will want to use benefit type code 500, unspecified lump sum payment settlement. You will enter the gross weekly amount effective date, the net weekly amount, and the net weekly amount effective date. Or based on previous submissions, this information may pre-fill. Enter the benefit period start date and end dates. This is not the award served and filed date. And for this, we are using 4/5/2021, the date of payment date. Enter the benefit type amount paid, which would be the full lump sum settlement amount of $15,000, and the benefit payment issue date, which is 4/5/2021. Next, please. This is an example of the E-form benefit segment for a full, final, complete settlement payment. Next. The payment segment for a full, final, and complete settlement would have two occurrences, one for the employee and one for the employee's attorney. For both occurrences, you will enter the payment reason code 500, unspecified lump sum payment settlement, the payee's name, the payment amount, the payment period start and through date, and the payment issue date. Next. The E-form payment segment shows a $12,000 payment to the employee and a $3,000 contingent payment to the attorney. Those two payments should equal the total amount paid in the benefits segment. Also, we are showing the payment of the employee's attorney's RORAF fees and taxable cost, which is reported under the Other Benefits section, or OBT, with the Other Benefit Type Code 340 for the total claimant's legal expenses. You will need to provide an award order date and lump sum payment settlement code as well. Other attorney fees such as RORAF, Heaton, and Edquist would also be reported under the Other Benefits section as total claimant's legal expenses. Next. This is the notice of payment from the form that campus will generate based on the PY transaction. Again, make sure that a payment segment is included in your transaction so the information will populate on the form. This form has been generated with information that was provided on the transaction. It is your responsibility to serve the final version to the appropriate parties. If you modify the generated form that you serve on the parties, please upload a copy into Campus. Back to you, Denise.
Great. Thanks, Lisa and Cheryl, for sharing those PY examples with us. Next, let's turn things over to Deb.
Thanks, Denise. The Department of Labor and Industry continues to want your ideas and feedbacks for topics for our future campus hours sessions. So continue to please submit those discussions or those topics in the chat box today for future consideration. The next campus hours session is anticipated to be scheduled soon, so keep aware or notice for the upcoming information on campus. Next screen, please. So for updates regarding campus, visit Campus Central. There is a link available on every Dolly webpage on the left side of the red bar on the top of the page. Denise, can you go to Campus Central so we can take a look at that a little bit better? So here is that red bar that I made reference to. That red bar is on every single Dolly web page. So on the very far left, all you need to do is to click on the Campus Central updates and it'll take you to the Central Campus page. Again, as we had discussed in previous sessions, this is an area in which you can log into campus from this page, and it's a good idea that you may want to consider to going to this Campus Central page first before logging into campus, as we provide updates about campus, which includes issues regarding issues that are being worked on or may have been resolved. It now gives you a complete quick link to the FAQs, to the work comp quick reference guides. And now this is a recent add-on, the workers' compensation email list, where you can subscribe to the various emails. As we go down a little bit, Denise, here's where you're going to find the new campus hour sessions that will be announced, and there will be a message there. The most recent message that we received or had made public were the claim for reimbursements and an email address for Echdal Hartwig. So let's take a look at that. So this was information provided to everyone indicating that claim for reimbursements were now being issued by the Special Compensation Fund. We also gave notice that there is a new mailbox for Echdal Hartwig submissions, and we provided that link for that email address in addition for procedures of how to complete that. And this email was sent out early on the morning on March 30th when we started getting submissions by noon that day. So this information is well received. Denise, you want to go back to the slideshow so now we can address the questions that may have appeared in the chat box?
Thanks, Deb. So now we will open the forum for our panelists to answer any audience questions on the campus system. Please put your inquiries in the chat box, and Anne will monitor to ensure that we address your questions. And just a friendly reminder to the panelists, please make sure that you're unmuted now so that your responses can be heard.
Okay, hi, this is Anne. First question is from Susan Lucas, and she's asking where should we upload any amended e-forms in Campus?
Hey, this is Melissa Parrish. I can take that question if that's okay. If you are an e-form filer for your EDI filings, when you are in Campus, you can navigate to the claim, and there will be your yellow button in the top right that says submit e-form, or excuse me, submit e-FORI, e-SHORI, or web form, I think is how it's worded. When you click on that, it will automatically, the option will say submit to existing claim, but if you click the drop down, you can change it to amend existing claim. And so if you're going to amend a claim, do it that way.
Next question is from Mike Pinter. Will or has the PPD web form been updated to allow for a fraction of a percentage?
Yes, that has been logged as an issue. I don't know how quickly that can happen. And Ralph, if you're on, I don't know if this is something you could speak to or not, but right now our backup for when there's an issue has been you can use those the older like paper forms and upload it to the claim. So if you run into a situation where you have like a 0.5 PPD and there's just not a way to put 0.5 on the current web form, you could put it on that paper, put it on a paper form and upload it actually into the claim for us to see.
Hi, this is Ralph. Yep. A feedback item has been put in for that. You can enter a fraction if it's more than 1%. So you could do 1.5% and it should work. As anything that was less than 1% was not able to work. Don't know the logic behind all that, but it seemed anything with a single decimal point after a number would work okay. So 1.5, 1.05 would be just fine, but a 0.5 would not go through. So that is a feedback item to get fixed. So it'll be coming.
Okay, and then it looks like we have a question that someone's having a hard time submitting via chat. So if you want to unmute and just ask your question, that would work too for us.
Denise, this is Darcy. I have several people that have been submitting chats to me privately. Would you like me to go ahead and read those?
Yes, please. And just a quick reminder, if you have a question to ask in the forum, there's likely others that have the same question. So go ahead and make sure that you send your question in the chat box to everyone, not to a particular person. Thanks, Darcy.
You're welcome. The
This
first
is-
question.
Sorry, this is Deb Northston, and I'm unmuting because I can't submit a question to everyone. There's no option for me to do that.
That's fine, Deb. I'm
Me
going to read your
either.
question right now. I'll go through those right now. So Deb is asking, when we withhold and pay attorney's fees on a weekly basis as we issue benefits to the injured worker, using a 5XX code to pay withheld fees in a PY form is generated after each weekly payment to the attorney. Do we need to serve this report on the attorneys every week? This seems costly and excessive to send it to the employee and the attorneys every week.
Ralph, I don't know, do you want to speak to like the serving of forms on that? So if I'm, Deb, I think I'm understanding it. So when you are sending out those weekly payment, it's probably triggering the forms to continue to be, or the EDI to submit. So the form is being created and it's just an ongoing payment. But since it's EDI and it can trigger all those additional kind of ongoing submissions, I would say no, they wouldn't need to submit, or excuse me, serve all of those because they aren't like the events that would have been done in the past. But Ralph, I don't know if you have anything else as far as the service goes.
I think common sense might prevail in this case. They're getting their checks, their payments, so that, they should know what they're for. And if you're sending out the initial notice when payments start, and then when the last payment is made, that should suffice. Yeah, I agree. It's creating more work to send them out with every payment. So unless there's something buried out there in EDI world or other filing requirements, I would just say you wouldn't need to do that.
Okay, the next question I have is from Trish, and as I'm reading these, I'll copy and paste them in the chat for everybody to see. The question from Trish is, if we modify and upload a copy of a form, do we do in other filing? And others in quotations.
Yes, that is what you would do. You would be on a claim, and you can click on submit filing, and then the options there, they have the different web form options, for example, but then there's an other filing. And in case you have a follow-up question or just to speak for something that I know people have run into, when you do that other filing and you upload your document, the document types that are listed is not a very long list, and we do not have enough things on the list to meet the needs of the different document types that I know, externals I've talked to need. So we are working to expand that. In the meantime, you can either pick the very top thing if that's what you need to do. It's a claim investigation report. When we see those, we kind of know to maybe look a little bit harder because maybe people are defaulting to that. Or if there's something on that list that does sort of fit the bill, great. Right below the document type when uploading in another filing, there is a description where you have some narrative space where you can be more specific and put in something more helpful. So hopefully that'll hold us over for now until we can get some more document types into the campus system.
All right, the next question I have is from Diane. It says, why does the date on the form was generated, not automatically pre-fill.
Yep. So when I'm thinking this is the EDI question as far as different filings being submitted, and then it creates that form and the date's not on it. I know that this has been a big topic of conversation because I've been on some of the emails with needing to get those dates on there. So that's definitely on our radar, and improvement that we need to make. Part of the issue was simply that we had like a date served was something we were used to in Minnesota on our old paper forms. And the problem with EDI is you are submitting the EDI to create the form that you then need to serve on the employee. So at the time you're submitting the data, if it's today, and today is what, the 7th, I believe, I could assume and hope that I can submit it today, it'll go through, I can print out the form. So I'm going to guess and put the 7th down. That's the date I'm going to serve the employee. But as soon as we start adding in, you know, if there's any issues with getting it accepted, or perhaps it's after business hours, it won't be today, or maybe you use a vendor and it takes a day to get through their edits and then be submitted to us, it is a date you would have to guess for the date submitted, or I'm sorry, the date served. And so that date served isn't a data element, and it's not something that you'd be able to guess even if it was. So we could hopefully change it to like the date acknowledged by DLI, which I believe is on that IP form right now, but not on all the forms. So it's probably a longer answer than I needed to say, but it is something we're looking at.
Okay, the next one I have from Susan, I think was answered already, which is where should we upload any amended e-forms to campus? I believe you answered that. The next one I have is private, and it says it's from Liz. If the PY is transmitted via EDI, is it necessary for the adjuster to do anything in campus?
The adjuster would, when appropriate, and of course, depending on what sort of filing it is, whether it's a serve or a copy, for example, to the employee, there would still be the obligation to send that form to the employee. And so depending on how your system in your company is set up, you might actually need to come into campus and get the form that's created so you can download it and send it to the employee. Other companies, you guys might be picking up the forms, you know, through your acknowledgements, and it's sent to you on your computer, and therefore you're not necessarily logging into campus to get it. Maybe it's something you're able to do outside of campus, but it's a little more company specific. But you do need to either serve or copy to the employee as required by law, depending on what kind of filing it is.
Okay, the next message was for Mike, and it was in regards to the PPD and uploading fractions. I believe that Ralph answered that. So then the next question I have is from Angela. We're receiving a lot of EDI rejections for missing data elements that are AA/AR, period. It seems that they should be M or MC. Are there any updates being made to the tables?
I don't know of any where we have updated those for the mandatory or mandatory conditionals to being, you know, the I forget what AR stands for, but we'll look at the edits if it exists kind of thing, and not being required. Not that I know of. I don't believe the tables were updated. If it, or not if, since you have some of those examples that you've run across, if you can email the EDI team with a couple where you've seen, and a JCN and or your claim admin claim number is always very helpful on what you're trying to submit, and show, so we can look at the acknowledgement and what rejected, and I can take a look at some of those data elements specifically to see if either there was an update that I'm not aware of, or if perhaps there's something wrong in the tables or in the guide where it appears to be AA but is not being treated that way. So we can take a look at it.
Okay, the next question I have is from Meredith. It says, what if you are not an e-form user and are uploading a form that did not come back appropriately from campus to be served? Many CBs are having this issue.
So I think maybe the question is how they upload it, even if they're not. Oh, thanks for putting it in the chat. Well, if you're not in form. So yeah, regardless on if you are an eForm user or if you submit your EDI via Direct Connect or through a vendor, if a document is not created by your submission, and it should have been, or perhaps if something's missing on it, or you know, if we've run into issues with that, I know We talked earlier about making sure that payment segment was on some of those forms, or the document might not create. So there are some issues that we are aware of internally as well. Regardless of how you submit it, you can use that workaround of the form, the old paper form, and go into the file, click your yellow submit filing button, and do an other filing to upload your document to the claim. And that is a case where you might not find a perfect document type, but you can put in a description of what that document is.
Okay, then I just lost my spot. The next one I have is from Scott, and it says, are the examples for PPD available as a PDF or a PowerPoint, or do we have to wait until the recording is uploaded to the website?
I guess I don't know, Cheryl, Lisa, or Denise, if there's been plans for that, if this is going to be put on the website as well, and maybe even faster than the recording. Do you guys know?
The slideshow and the recording, once they're approved, they'll be posted online for access, but it has to be approved first through communication. So as soon as that's approved, we certainly will post it up for you all to access.
Okay, and my next one's from Renee, and I'm going to address this now, just so you guys know. I know that everybody's having some issues with chat, and I'm trying to resolve those issues, but I'll continue on copying and pasting these in here. And well, when I set up the meetings, I'll make sure, or I'll see if there's something that I may have done wrong setting it up. So my apologies in advance. So Renee doesn't have the option to chat with all. She says, our issue is when we fix an SX for a NOID 3, the final document is not carrying over all the benefits paid to date. It's just listing the first payment. We have entered and updated the benefits payment box. Is this how the form should be? If yes, it does not show up that we paid benefits to date on our filing of that NOID 3.
So, okay, so the NOID 3, the discontinuance web form being one thing, but then the suspension being the EDI version of the suspension of benefits that you're filing. So I think they're talking about the suspension. And with EDI, you're always kind of adding on to the benefits that you've paid. So like the very first filing you're ever doing, you show that very first start date, and then you'd have like the very first end date. Well, the next time you pay that same benefit type, it is kind of like the grand total. It still has that first start date, but now it's the final end date, and you would have filed a reinstatement in there. So it kind of builds upon itself to build out the various periods of lost time. All that to say, there are times where sometimes the benefits, especially right now, having moved to campus and not having had the benefit data in EDI before, we're certainly in a period where there are some gaps, depending on how the EDI comes in with the URs and such. So if the data is not there on the suspension, we can take a look at your payment segments and benefit segments to see what was submitted and if something was simply missing. And again, there are issues that we're trying to resolve where some of those forms are not being created properly. But also sometimes we have found that the information is simply not in the benefit segment to populate the form. So it might be that. If you have a specific example or a few, go ahead and again, email the EDI team. That's the dli.edi@state.mn.us, and we can look at those specific claims. So long story short, there are issues kind of on both sides. Sometimes it's the data coming in. Sometimes it is certainly an issue on our end that we're working to resolve.
Okay, the next one I have is from Lisa. It says, when entering weeks and days of lost time, I continue to receive an error whenever there's a 0. This is when entering wage loss benefits on either the eShroi or updated forms.
Okay, so they're filing, if it's via eForm and you are going into the benefits and adding a benefit and saying, for example, 4 for number of weeks and 2 for number of days, so like 4.2 4. And anytime you enter a 0, it's giving you an error. You know, off the top of my head, I don't know what that issue is. I haven't run across it in any of the testing I've done. Certainly haven't tested everything. So maybe if we could connect on that one as well, sorry, but on that EDI inbox, let us know what claim you are trying to submit to and which short filing you're trying to submit. And then the best thing, if you're able to take a screenshot to show us the what that benefit, like if for those that are e-form filers, you know, like all the different benefits and payments are kind of like in a little box area of that e-form. If we could get screenshots of those boxes to see what you're actually submitting and a screenshot of the error you're receiving. If that's not all possible in the first email, great, still email us and we can connect, and if nothing else, share screens and see if we can see how to get it resolved.
And Melissa, Renee follows up with that to say that they are e-form filers.
Yes, okay, yep, and that makes sense. Thank you.
And then I have a question from Diane that says, if the PY previously submitted was not filed and was not filled in and stated before, should additional PY be submitted showing all the required information?
If there's a PY that was submitted and something was inaccurate or just maybe didn't have everything on it, as far as sequencing goes, you can file another PY. Now, of course, if you go into the tables, for those of you neck deep in EDI and enjoy those element requirement tables, for example, you can look at our element requirement table to see there are restrictions either through the IABC sometimes has them, or of course our own, on what can be added or updated. So there are some things that if they were missed, you might not be able to add it on the subsequent PY, but other elements you can. So without knowing all the specifics, generally, yes, you can submit another PY to show the payment. If that is something that you're unable to do through your system, or it's not an element that can be updated, reach out to us and we can talk with compliance as well to see what workaround resolution we can come to.
Thank you, Melissa. And those are all the questions that I have currently that were sent privately, and I'm not seeing any other questions in here. I do note that Anne did put to everybody the help desk contact information, but I'll turn it back over to anybody else. And if you wind up having to submit some question privately, go ahead and send it, and I will read the question, and which Tammy just sent one in, which is, are examiners being assigned linked to the claims that at the time the EDI filing is accepted? I believe that enhancement was coming.
Yes, that enhancement did come. So what that means is on the Troy filings, you are required, some of the data elements that are required include the claim admin, claim rep name, claim admin, claim rep email, and phone, I believe are the 3. So we look at that email address submitted, and if it meets the qualifications, we will automatically link in Campus, will link to and assign to that adjuster. Now what it needs to meet is that email address has to be exactly the same as what that individual used to sign up with in Campus. So it has to be like a Campus email that somebody signed up for an account. And of course, it needs to be part of that group. So for example, if you're the trading partner XYZ, that individual needs to be a member of that group just for permission's sake, of course, because otherwise they wouldn't have access to the claim. But in that case, that will link them, so it should show up on their dashboard.
Okay, I have another one from Watros. It says, we have received notifications reading an injury has been reported. Please submit a FROI for the following reported injury on date, employer name, employee name, was injured, claim shell ID, SH, and the number. If you would like assistance, please contact Minnesota Workers' Compensation Hotline at 651-284-5005, option 3, or email us at helpdesk@state.mn.us. Last I heard on April 1st is they do nothing yet. Any update?
So if you got the email, so I think this is referring to whether or not those emails were being sent on the claim shells, and they are being sent. There's a backlog of them that staff is working through. But yes, if you get a notice that it's called a claim shell, but notice that an injury has been reported, we need a FROI. Then that's we need to have filed. And of course, some of that goes back to the law change that happened in I think late August. I forget the exact date, but now if, unlike in the past, all the reasons to report a claim, but it also includes now if there's litigation or rehab. So in the past, there might not have been other reasons why a claim was reportable, but now it is. So there will be claim shells coming in that we will reach out and say, hey, we need you to file a FROI on this. So please do get that filed.
Okay, and then Wetros also says, did not get an email, it was a notification.
Oh, I'm sorry, a notification like within campus. I misunderstood. Sorry about that. Yep. So if I guess I didn't even realize that was also coming as a notification. So it came as a notification. It sounds like maybe you didn't get the email at all. We'll take note of that, and our like kind of shell team can take a look at what is being created and how. But if you get that notification and that's your first notification, then great, please do use that as well, if you're able to. But sorry, John, I hope that answers your question. If not, let me know.
And he says correct, only as a notification.
Okay, great. Yep, we'll need to take a look at that. I'm not quite as involved in the claim shells, but we'll bring that back to our management group and chat over what the process is there and if something is missing in the form of an email, for example.
Thank you, Darcy. Anne, do you see any other inquiries pending a response in the chat box on your end?
No, there aren't any more.
Okay, so Deb or panelists, does anyone else have any closing remarks to add? Okay, so hearing nothing, then we'll conclude this meeting. Thanks to everyone for taking the time to join us today, and have a great day.
Thank you.